Hey there guys, James Wilson here, and welcome to this week's episode of James Presents here on Hurix Reviews. Now, I've just been away seeing family over the weekend, and there was little or no internet connection over there. It was hell, but it's nice to see family, isn't it? And even then, with a little or no internet connection, I was still the first one to see that we had gained 1,000 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. I was the one to actually tell Matthew, and really it is just absolutely overwhelming the amount of support that everyone's given us, and we'd like to thank all 1,000 of you for the brilliant shout-outs that we've been given in the past over the last year that we've been doing this channel, and really a huge shout-out to Jacob Martin, who has done our opening title sequences for Sherlock Week, that brilliant tribute video that Matthew uploaded a couple of days ago. My God, what a fantastic tribute video that was, and honestly we just like to thank every single one of you for the shout-outs and amazing support that you've been giving us. It's really been overwhelming, and we actually couldn't be any more grateful. And don't forget to tune in tonight at 7:30 PM here on the YouTube channel for our Hurix Reviews live Q&A for our 1,000 subscribers celebration. It is going to be brilliant. Don't forget to tune in. But it's still a Monday, so I will be continuing my character reviews with Clara Oswald. Enjoy. When it was first announced on the 21st of March 2012 that Jenna Louise Coleman, an actress from Emmerdale and Waterloo Road, was going to be playing the next companion to the Doctor to replace Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill, and was to be starting at Christmas, of course I was excited. It's a new character, it's a new face to get to know. Of course, I was our departure from Amy and Rory was still to come at the time, and of course I think she was announced a week before, and then a week after she was announced, we saw her in Asylum of the Daleks, and really that was just an absolutely shocking debut. I love how the press kept that secret, you know, and it really was just shocking to see that sort of debut, and it was brilliant. I think when me and Matthew sat down and watched it, I think he was either in denial that it was her, or he was aware that who the new companion was, but didn't know her face all that well. I'm not too sure, but when we watched it, I was just like, oh my God, that's the new companion. And Matthew was like, what? What? Is that her? Oh my God, that's the new companion. And really, we were just absolutely buzzing about it. And yet Clara still had... But in Asylum of the Daleks, I feel like Oswin at the time, I feel her character was just... I don't know, her sort of cockiness started to annoy me a little bit. You know, I loved the ending, how she turned out to be a Dalek. I didn't see that one coming, but I certainly didn't. I certainly didn't like her cockiness, and you know, I just thought she got too casual with the Doctor far too quickly. You know, I didn't like that very much, and it gave a sort of really bad first impression for the character for me. But I certainly do believe that her later appearance in The Snowmen, I think, was brilliant. You know, I mean, it's hard really to say what was this character's first appearance, because there's been like 3 different Claras that we've known. So we're just like, no, her first appearance was the Sound of the Dead. No, her first appearance was the Snowman. No, her first appearance was the Bells of St. God's sake, Moffat. You know, you just think all sorts of these things, and you just don't have a clue what to think was her debut. But in my opinion, her debut was Asylum of the Daleks, because that's kind of where her story started in a way. But the Snowmen, I adored the Victorian Clara so much better, because not that I didn't love the Clara that we know now, but I do think that the Clara from the Victorian times, sort of the mystery of Clara was subtly there a little bit, but it didn't engulf the entire story and still kept it in with the great intelligence and the snowmen story. I just didn't like the snowmen, you know, that the fact that the Doctor was fighting snow. I didn't like that very much, but you guys probably already knew that. But I just think that Clara was just brilliant in Victorian times, because the Doctor and Clara just snapped into place right there and then. The Doctor was so determined to after the loss of Amy and Rory, he was so determined to keep himself a secret and lie low, you know, and just to give up saving the universe. But it was Clara that kind of got him back on the horse, and, you know, well, back on the TARDIS more like, and get out there and start traveling the universe again. You know, she got him back into saving the universe, and that's something that I think will keep in her character for years to come. Hopefully, she'll be there for years anyway. To prove my point more on the great chemistry between Matt and Jenna's characters, is Moffat had actually cast Coleman in the role because of their great chemistry, the fact that they bounced off each other so well, and apparently it was so entertaining to watch them act beside each other, and I can just imagine it being a brilliant experience watching for the very first time Matt Smith and Jenna Louise Coleman actually be together. And one thing I find incredibly brilliant about this character is that she actually didn't watch. Jenna Coleman actually didn't want to watch a majority of the episodes in which the 11th Doctor and Karen Gillan actually act together, because she didn't want her character, she didn't want to at all be aware of how the Doctor and Amy were together, so that they could be a bit more spontaneous, and I love that, and that comes across brilliantly in their acting. The biggest characteristic about her is her back and forth with the Doctor, which I thought was brilliant. But the one bad thing about this character is, and this really wasn't Jenna Coleman's fault. Jenna Coleman has done an absolutely bang up job with the character. I think she's brought such sophistication and such banter to the role, and I think it's brilliant. But the one bad thing I'll say is that in Series 7 Part 2, her character development was sort of engulfed by her mystery, and there was nothing more to her. She was nothing more than a plot device. Recently, in The Day of the Doctor and at the Time of the Doctor, her character has been worked on a lot more, and her backstory has definitely been focused on. But I just think that Series 7 Part 2, she was used for nothing more than a plot device, and I think Moffat has suddenly realised that, and that's where he sort of improved upon that in The Day of the Doctor, which also I hope to go even further. I hope they go even further with it in Series 8, because this character certainly does need work. I mean, my God, there are just some moments where Clara can be so very naive, and really it's just so annoying. You know, those characters, Angie and Artie, are just the most annoying things in Doctor Who history, I think, because these characters, I've ranted on about Angie and Artie many times beforehand, but I just believe that Clara can be a bit stupid sometimes. You know, I mean, obviously there are those moments where Clara is brilliant, and that's a majority of the time, but there are quite a lot of times where you just want to slap the character and say, use common sense, for goodness sake. But above all that, Clara Oswald has definitely solidified herself as a absolutely brilliant companion. She has brought the Doctor from the darkness and into the light. You know, that she's one of those characters where she's made the Doctor see sense, and that, you know, just because you've lost a friend that's dear to you doesn't mean that the rest of the universe has to suffer for it, you know? And Clara has made him realise this, and I think she did an absolutely brilliant job of it, and obviously died for doing it. But I think that in the name of the Doctor, that is the moment where she was solidified as a great companion to me, because she was willing to actually go into the Doctor's timeline and save her. It would kill her. You know, she was actually willing to die for the Doctor, and I think that is something I never get to see anymore. You know, she was willing to give her life just so the Doctor could live, and you've got to admit that is just brilliant. that takes a lot of bravery, a lot of courage, and you can't say that she's not brave. You can't say that she's not brave. Yes, her suspicions gets her caught up in a mess sometimes, like when Rose got her face sucked off by the wire in The Idiot's Lantern and stuff like that. And there are all sorts of companions where their suspicions get them in trouble and it gets them almost killed. But really, I think Clara is one of those characters where yes, she gets suspicious, and yes, she might get in trouble, but she knows how to get herself out of it. And I think the Doctor actually finds it quite liberating, the fact that he has gained such a headstrong friend such as Clara, and I think that her being present during that moment when he regenerates, it Clara was kind of shoved under the rug for that, and I think the presence of Amy Pond kind of made us all think, hello, Clara. She's in the same room as well. You know, she's in the TARDIS as well. You know, don't forget Clara. She is the main companion. Karen Gillan buggered off. Clara is the current companion. You know, you just felt like she was waving for attention, just like, hello, I'm here too. And that I really sympathise with her. I loved the fact that Karen Gillan returned, and it added to the emotion of the moment. But it kind of swept Clara under the rug and made her seem a bit redundant and like she didn't really matter, when really she has been an absolutely brilliant asset to the Doctor and has tried to help him at any given moment. And like I said, has been willing to die for him and you know, spreaded herself across his timeline just so he would survive. You know, and honestly, if I think back, it's Clara who defeated the Great Intelligence in the end. It wasn't the Doctor. It wasn't Vastra Geniostrax. It was Clara. And let me just talk a little bit about unpopular opinion. A lot of people believe that Clara has no distinguishable character traits and there's nothing special about her. There's nothing new. But I have to disagree. Yes, her character development in Series 7 Part 2 was lackluster, but that was nowhere near her fault. I think Jenna has done a brilliant job with the character and developing it, and is definitely a companion I'd love to see for a couple of years and until she's run out of things to do on the show, obviously. But she's still a breath of fresh air. She's a breath of fresh air in every single episode she's in. I looked. Maybe that's just because I had a good 3 years with Amy and Rory. Maybe that might just be the case. But no matter how many times I see Clara's character, I'll just look forward to what she'll say or what she'll do. You know, she's just such a watchable character and such a brilliant presence to have around. And I really think that she should be around for a long, long time. I love Jenna Coleman's portrayal of Clara Oswald. I think she brings wit and confidence to the role, although sometimes her confidence can come across as overconfident and cocky, and plus she can show signs of naivety at times. But this character is definitely a huge asset to the Doctor Who universe. I rate this character a 7 out of 10. Now I'm going to be answering a few comments from last week's character review, which was of Rory Williams. My first commenter, who's called Ben Tabner, says, I love Rory because I think he was the only character apart from the Doctor who had a great story. I mean, Amy had the girl that waited for 1 or 2 episodes, but Rory, he was the boy who waited for 2,000 years, I think. But I did think Stephen Moffat overdid it with the Rory dying so many times joke. I completely agree with that last bit. I mean, honestly, Stephen Moffat turned a joke into something that just turned out to be annoying. I mean, by the end of it, Rory, like I said in the video, Rory's demise was awful. I mean, Amy's was emotional, but Rory's was literally awful. I don't mean awful as in emotional, I mean awful as in bad. Bad writing right there. I mean, Rory was just as good, if not better, than Amy Pond. So I think it's really ridiculous that Moffat kind of pulled favourites on that one. I love Amy Pond better than Rory Williams. Let's just let Rory Williams just get whisked away by an angel while Amy and the Doctor get an emotional goodbye. You know, I just think that Rory was kind of swept under the rug after Angels Take Manhattan was such a brilliant episode. You know, I just thought that was just one of the very few things to be wrong with that episode. But you are right, Rory did have a much more, I think, sort of fluent sort of story, because Amy's storyline really only lasted one season, whereas Rory's kind of still showed importance throughout his run as a companion, and I think that the way Moffat just pulled favourites on that one was just absolutely just terrible. My second comment is from Frankie Hollins, who says Rory was at first a very plain and undeveloped character, but near the end of Series 5 his character became complex during Series 6. I just wish it was more of a straight line. Overall, he was a funny, very nice character. Really likes him. Well, I honestly agree, because Rory did start out, well, sort of like how Mickey did, because from first glance Mickey was just an incredibly normal Londoner from the Powell estate and East End, and really it was quite strange, because I think the reason why Moffat and Russell T Davies kind of created such bland characters at first, like Mickey and like Rory, is because to sort of, in comparison, to make the Doctor look even better. But it's not just that. I'm not just saying that these characters are there to make the Doctor look good. Certainly not. I think it's also great how Russell and Moffat had made Rory and Mickey so much more brave as their tenures as companions went on. You know, they didn't just make the Doctor look good, but in the very beginning. By the end of it, the Doctor made them look good, and I love the fact that that was kind of like flipped on its head quite a lot during each of their tenures, and I love that. And Rory was just a great character, but like I said, awful ending. My third comment is from 87PLS, who says, James, please review the greatest and most terrifying Doctor Who character of all time, the Absorbaloff. I love it. Lol, only joking, although I would kind of like to see it, believe me, so would I, but then again, the video would just be awful to do. Oh my god. Oh my god, the countless and endless rant that I would give on that. I do enjoy your hilarious rants about some of the not-so-good parts of Doctor Who. Thank you. I enjoy giving rants, but clearly some other people have their own opinions to give on that subject, of the subjects that me and Matthew rant about. But thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoy them, and I certainly enjoy giving them. Like I said a couple of weeks ago when I was reviewing Tasha Lem, you just love a good rant, don't you? When there's something about a show that you don't like, rant on YouTube about it. You know, it's much better than punching someone in the face, especially Moffat. My fourth and final comment is from Andre Hoskin, who says Rory was like Mickey in the aspect that their character development was so good. They both started off as characters that were scared and bumbling, but they turned out zapping Cybermen and exploding spaceships. Yes, yes. Honestly, I couldn't agree more. Like I said before, these characters have started out with such bland stories and such bland character traits, but now they are thought of as great companions, and to be honest, I felt that with Rory. You know, I mean, in the very first time we saw him in the 11th hour, you know, he was so unimportant, and he was just this sort of boyfriend that Amy had, and I think that the Doctor brings out the best in people, and like I said, I think that it's great how these characters start off very, very unexpectedly, and then develop into these brilliant characters that we love and cherish today, which is what I love, and I hope to God that we have the same with Samuel Anderson's character Danny Pink. That is, not only can I not wait for Capaldi, but it sounds like we're going to have another great third male companion, and I love it. So then guys, that's it for this week's episode of James Presents. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already for some great videos over the next coming days. Also, please comment in the section below what you guys think about the character of Clara Oswald, and I will answer them in next week's character review. I bet Owen Salmons will have a lot to say about Jenna Coleman. And also, don't forget to tune in on the channel tonight at 7:30 for me and Matthew's 1,000 subscribers celebration, where we will be doing a Q&A for all you guys. Don't forget to ask as many questions as you can possibly produce. So then guys, I'll see you tonight.